we have never talked about football on this channel. We'll be making an exception for today because I'll just be showing, the difference between the NBA and the NFL regarding this vaccine and, the players' response to it. Now, if this was the NBA and these players had the same response or similar response to these NFL players when it came to not wanting to get the vaccine or not being vaccinated, not much would happen. You know why? Because the NBA, they have guaranteed contracts, and the NBA is a star-driven league. It is about the name on the back of the jersey and not on the front, because LeBron fans will fly to LA, Miami, Cleveland to support LeBron. They will support Oklahoma, Golden State, Brooklyn to support Kevin Durant. So it's really that simple. It's about the stars and not the team. And that's not the case with the NFL. Not at all. The NFL does not care if their star players retire or they don't want to get vaccinated, because the star players leaving the game in general don't have an effect on the NFL and their ratings. Not at all. When Michael Jordan, Magic, and Larry Bird left the NBA, that had an effect on their ratings. When LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant leave the NBA, it will have an effect on their ratings. That was not the case when Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and whichever star players that come down the line or that already came down the NFL, because the NFL is just simply in a different league when it comes to ratings and revenue. They're just simply different. In the pandemic year, they made $10 billion, while every other industry, suffered, not a massive loss, but a noticeable loss. So like NBA, they didn't go under, but it was a noticeable dent in their funds. It was a noticeable dent in their funds. And other industries, they almost went under, suffered massive losses, but not for the NFL. And when it comes to their ratings, same thing. Because when it comes to television in general, everything else, and I literally mean everything else, except for the NFL within the last 10 years, ratings have gone down. Literally everything else. NFL, not the case. Their ratings have been going up every single year. Even in the pandemic year, with no fans in the stands for, some games, or limited capacity, their ratings keep going up. It's about the teams and not the players. And that's very obvious when you look at their collective bargaining agreements, because they can get franchise tagged. When it comes to not having guaranteed contracts in general, them having, terrible benefits for retired players compared to other leagues. It's about the team, and the owners, they move the they move the needle, and they get shit going compared to the NBA when it comes to star players. And there have been a couple of noticeable players that have made some noise about this vaccine, or not getting it, or their teammates not getting it. Guys like Jalen Ramsey, DeAndre Hopkins, Leonard Fournette, and Cole Beasley. And yeah, the NFL will not bat an eye if all four of them if all four of them retired today. NFL would not care. They are easily replaceable. Quarterbacks are a bit harder to replace, but they're replaceable as well. So it doesn't matter when it comes to the NFL. NFL is just different. And the way they're doing this, you can say it's not really a choice, it's more of an ultimatum or a very strong suggestion. But when it comes to NFL, the NFL thinks it's the right one, because the more players are vaccinated, the less likely games have a chance of being rescheduled or ultimately canceled. And if games aren't rescheduled and canceled, the NFL gets to maximize their profits. And that's what it's about. It's really that simple. And they have very harsh punishments if an unvaccinated player causes an outbreak for the NFL that results in the game being canceled. And those punishments are the player that caused the outbreak, their team being fined, their team forfeiting the game, so they would get an L. And this is the biggest one, because this affects both teams. No one gets their game checks. No one. The team that had the outbreak and the team that didn't. No one gets their game checks. And yeah, they're just applying some serious pressure to really get players to get that vaccine, because if you're the player that causes an outbreak, and guess what, your team has to cancel the game, and the game gets canceled, not only does your team lose, not only does no one get game checks, no one on the other team gets game checks. And if you're the guy that causes your team and the other team to not get game checks, you're going to become very unlikable very quickly. You're going to be a distraction in your own locker room very quickly. And that's not ideal for winning football games. especially forfeiting them outright in general because of, the outbreak. So yeah, I believe that majority of these NFL players, they are going to fold because one, they don't have the guaranteed contracts and luxuries that other leagues have, and due to the fact that the league isn't messing around, but mainly just the guaranteed contracts, and they simply just don't get paid as much as other league star players or even role players. Like, only guys that are making that serious money are, your very elite defensive players, so your pass rushers, quarterbacks, and your receivers. Everyone else, that kind of making NBA role player money. Just to say it. I mean, this coming from Pro Bowl caliber players and starters that making NBA role player money. And what's NBA role player money? 4 years, $64 million. Luol Deng got that contract in 2016 from the Lakers. Same with Timothy Mozgov. And a Pro Bowler that makes that, and that's a starter? Leonard Williams. 3 years, $63 million. But only $45 million is fully guaranteed. So, yeah, Luol Deng, role player, is making more money than, a perennial starter, a 6th overall selection. It's really that simple. NFL is not playing around. I believe most of you guys fold by week 7. But with that out the way, ladies and gentlemen, y'all stay safe, and I'm out.